I'm asking for the help of a couple of people who will stand up and just for a few minutes represent a Republican and a Democratic candidate. A few questions, probably questions that probably won't be asked during the debates, but I'm going to ask them. Healthcare, we've heard a little bit about that, and I want the candidates to sort of tell us where they stand. If you support mandates to force people to buy insurance in our current overpriced system of private health care, I want you to take a step to the right. And if you support single-payer health care like the rest of the developed world, stand your ground. Okay, thank you. That helps a little bit. Now, education. If you favor undermining public education by expanding charter schools, take a step to the right. And if you favor focusing our resources on providing quality public education for everyone, stand your ground. Okay, good. Thank you. School tuition. If you favor increasing tuition and fees at colleges to pay for higher education, take a step to the right. If you support reducing fees and tuition and moving to free public education from kindergarten through college, stand your ground. Okay, thank you. Casinos. If you support building gambling casinos in Massachusetts, and take a step to the right, and if you oppose casinos as being regressive taxation that produces counterproductive social ills, stand your ground. Okay, thank you. The budget. If you support balancing the budget by cutting health coverage for poor people, by cutting aid to our schools and towns, and preserving tax breaks for the rich, take a step to the right. If you support dealing with the budget problem by asking our corporations and wealthier citizens to close the gap by giving up some of the many tax breaks they've received over the years, stand your ground. Okay, good. Climate change. If you favor a go-slow policy on climate change that doesn't do even a fraction of what scientists tell us we have to do, and you want to give taxpayer money as subsidies to coal plants, take a step to the right. If you support decisive action to reduce carbon emissions and phase out coal burning to achieve 100% renewable energy, stand your ground. Or wave to us, just wave to us. Okay. And since your own money is important, I'm going to ask another question about that. If you yourself are accepting campaign money from lobbyists and corporate officers who are trying to determine the agenda on Beacon Hill to their own advantage, take a step to the right. If you're refusing to take lobbyist or CEO money in your campaign, stand your ground. Okay. Voter choice is one thing we heard about this morning. If you're not making any effort to fix the problem of Massachusetts being 50th in the nation in unopposed races, or to implement ranked choice voting, proportional representation, or more open ballot access, take a step to the right. And if you support all these reforms, stand your ground. Taxes, as you may know, poor people in Massachusetts pay taxes and fees at twice the rate of the wealthy. So, considering this, if you would support addressing this problem by implementing a progressive income tax, state income tax, stand your ground, and if you oppose a progressive income tax, take a step to the right. Okay, thank you. Next question is on foreclosures. If you're willing to dawdle around and stand by and let thousands of Massachusetts families be ejected from their homes by bank foreclosures, take a step to the right. If you want to put an immediate moratorium on foreclosures and force the banks to renegotiate with the people losing their homes, stand your ground. If you supported a presidential candidate who opposed equal marriage rights and argued that civil unions were plenty good enough for gay people, take a step to the right. And if you've been unequivocal in your support for marriage rights and your presidential candidate stood for equality, stand your ground. And finally, if you've never objected to sending our National Guard off to the military adventures in Iraq and Afghanistan, take a step to the right. If you've opposed the wars and supported bringing the National Guard home, stand your ground. Thank you. Now, look at what's happened up here. What we're heading for in the 2010 debates, gubernatorial debates, are debates in which the Democrats and the Republicans will avoid all the issues that I just raised. And the corporate media will cooperate by not even asking these questions, because when there's bipartisan agreement on something, that means that it can be kept off the table. It doesn't have to be discussed. But there will be theatrics. The Democrat and Republican will stand toe-to-toe, way over here, and accuse each other of everything. The Republican will accuse the Democrat of being a socialist, practically a socialist, for being so liberal. The Democrat will accuse the Republican of being a right-winger who's going to send us back to the Stone Age. And they'll each urge the voters of Massachusetts to unite behind their respective counts to prevent the terrible, terrible calamity of allowing the other guy with his far-out ideas to take over. And the Boston Globe will report day after day that there's a spirited argument going on and the voters have a tough choice to figure out which of these guys, will finally get their vote and have the mandate to decide how Massachusetts will be governed and what our society will be like.